So Randall Cobb gave this very vulnerable, emotional, and eye-opening interview to the POV podcast, which you can find on Packers.com. And at first, I didn't know anything about this until I watched his press conference from this week. And that's one of the main reasons why I like to watch all the press conferences, because you get these nuggets of info that you might not get anywhere else sometimes. And I wanted to react to the interview because it gave me some insight into my own personal journey. And I feel like it was something that if I shared it with you all, maybe you could gain something from it as well by breaking it down. And I wanted to share that with you guys because I also had this like miniature revelation that happened to me by the end of it. And we'll talk about that too. But before we do, I want to tell you about something else I learned this week, guys. And listen up, because this is really important. But studies show that there are actually only two kinds of people in this world. Okay? Those who subscribe to my YouTube channel and those who don't. Okay? And trust me, you don't want to be the latter, because ladders are boring and also potentially pretty dangerous. So be the former. Go ahead and sack that subscription button for me and hit the notification bell and the thumbs up, and I will greatly appreciate it. Now, back to this interview. So yeah, Randall Cobb touched on some really personal things in this interview. And again, I would encourage you to listen to it for yourself, because I can't really do it justice. And I'm only going to really touch on this one thing, even though it's like kind of layered for me. It doesn't go into the whole interview, and there was some really interesting things from it. But at one point, he was asked what it would mean to him to win a Super Bowl with Green Bay this year. And, he started to get really emotional. And then I started to get really emotional. And I'm like, oh my God, who's chopping onions in my room? Because I got like teary-eyed. And I mean, he's talking about his family and their sacrifice, and his mom and his dad and his wife and all these people that he wanted to be able to say to them, like, it was worth it. We made it to the pinnacle of this thing, and we are Super Bowl champions. Like, all of us, not just me, like all of us are Super Bowl champions. And that really touched me. But he also admitted that in 2019 he was in a dark place, you know what I'm saying, watching the Packers compete for the Super Bowl, in the NFC Championship game against the 49ers. And he said that he was doubting himself, and he said he blamed himself for why the team had not made it to the Super Bowl, or failed to make it to a Super Bowl during his time with the team. And he admitted that he was even worried about his mental health, at that time. And that's what really stood out to me the most, because I feel like we have all faced times like that, or might be going through something like that right now. Shoot, I know I am. I mean, like, it's hard watching YouTubers with successful channels, hundreds of thousands of subscribers and millions of views, and getting sponsored and getting opportunities to do things that and go places that I want to go and I want to do, and I just feel like a failure, like, all the time. And I want to quit. And I worry about my mental health too, because it's just like, it can be tough, man, when you feel like you're not growing, or you don't see the success that you feel like you should have or that you really want, man. It can be really tough on you mentally and physically and emotionally, you know what I'm saying, and spiritually, all different kinds of ways. But it also reminded me, though, right when I needed to be, you are not alone in this feeling. And it also reminded me why I started doing this, because it wasn't just for me. You know what I'm saying? I started this channel in part because I love this team and I love talking sports, but also in part because I love people and I love making connections. And I wanted this channel to be more than just sports talk. I wanted to become a family of like-minded people, sharing what they love with other people, and really make a community. So, as I'm listening to this, right, I told y'all in the beginning I had this revelation, and you might not really understand why unless I give you a little bit of backstory. So here we go. Back in 2018, I was living in LA doing food deliveries on my bike, which is a crazy experience. Like, I mean, I almost died one time, like literally, not hyperbolically, like I literally came this close to dying. And that's maybe like a story for another time. But one day I go to this real fancy restaurant in West Hollywood to pick up an order, and there I see none other than Randall Cobb sitting in the corner with his wife at this booth. And I go over to say hello and tell him I'm a Packers fan, and that was like it. I didn't ask for a pick or nothing. I didn't want to disturb them too much. I just wanted to show love. But after I got the food and I left, I immediately felt like really disingenuous about the whole encounter as I'm sitting outside, like getting back on my bike and riding away, because I knew his contract was about to be up after this year. And honestly, I didn't think the Packers were going to bring him back. And there was a part of me who didn't want him to come back. You know what I'm saying? It was like he had been injured too often. His production had started to decline. And we had these young guys who needed opportunities. So I thought he was like expendable and really disposable. And that's really where the revelation begins. Because as I'm listening to this interview in the present and thinking back to my thought process at that time in the past, I was reminded of what Aaron Rodgers said over the summer, that he felt like the Packers organization had lost its way and forgotten what was most important, the people, man. And I was like, that shit hit hard. And when he had first said it back then, I didn't agree. And I feel like, he was just being a diva. But like after listening to how deeply affected Randall Cobb was after being released, and probably a lot of the players feel that way, I kind of felt ashamed of myself almost. And I was like, it really helped me contextualize Aaron's comments. And I finally understood it a lot more. And I was like, man, maybe he was right. Maybe Green Bay had become too caught up in the bottom lines and the money and expansion and winning. And which, I mean, winning might be the only thing that matters, but it's not just winning. It's how you win and who you win with that's important. And if there's any team in the world, right, that should be about more than just winning and bottom lines and expansion and all of that capitalist stuff and all that stuff that corporations worry about, it should be the only team in professional American sports that isn't just owned by a single person, but it's owned by the people, right? So it made me realize I had become jaded and callous and cold-hearted in my thinking and my feelings, and I started to cut off my emotions, and I don't want to become that. So, thank you, Mr. Cobb, for helping me see that, and I guess by extension, Aaron Rodgers, for helping me see that, because Cobb was going to say a few times in this interview, football is a game, and it should be about fun, but it's also about life, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes it can teach you life lessons when you least expect it, when you don't expect it, and this day it certainly did. And so yeah, I mean, I just wanted to share that with you guys, man, with the fan club. I wanted to share that with y'all, man, because y'all my family, and if y'all going through some shit like I'm going through, I want to help y'all out too, man. And for anybody who don't watch the press conferences and don't really be on Packers.com like that, like, you may not have known about this, so I wanted you to know about this because it helped me. And the last thing I want to just leave y'all with is this quote from Randall Cobb, and I think this was an amazing quote, and it really touched me, and I hope it can touch y'all too. And when the interviewer asked him if there was anything he would want to, a message that he had for his two boys, right? They're both young. I think one's 2 and one's 4 or something like that. Or any like young kids like back where you're from in the hood, in the ghetto where you're from, bro, or just anywhere who want to become something like you became and make something of themselves. Like, would you have a message for them? And this is what he said. He said, learn who you are. And don't let anyone tell you who you are or who you're going to be, because a lot of people will doubt you and won't believe in you, and they can't see, right? They can't see what you are going to do with your life. anything you want to be, there is a path for you. Finding people that will help guide you and push you in those directions is key. And look, I just thought that was a very beautiful quote, well put. And I kind of paraphrased it a little bit, but that's basically the gist of it. And the great thing about it is that's not just for kids. Honestly, that can be for anyone like me. I'm actually older than Randall Cobb, so it's like, he's speaking to me too, and I'm a grown man, so it's like I really needed that so much right now, because that's really where I'm at. I'm really struggling with a lot of mental health stuff, and it's not just about this channel. There's a lot of things that goes back to my past and everything, but man, it can be hard sometimes. But I mean, when life is getting you down, oftentimes I find, like, as long as you want to get back up off the mat, there is that power out there to kind of help pull you up. The first time I read this, and this is like my 5th or 6th time trying to make this video, but I was literally in tears and just overcome with emotion, and I really wanted to capture that, but the sound quality was terrible. But I hope that you guys can still feel the emotion, and go and listen to it for yourself, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this, everything that we touched on in the video. I mean, let me know if any of this has helped you. Let me know if you liked this sort of format, this kind of content, which isn't really about X's and O's. It's really about life and some other stuff. And I want to know too, what side of the coin were you on back in 2019 when Randall Cobb was released? Like, were you on the side of that I was on at the time, whereas, like, you wanted him to be released, or you thought that it was a good decision to release him, or were you on the other side, like you felt like the Packers made a mistake and they should have kept him? And it's not just about the production, it's more so about the person. All right, let me know in the comments below. Until the next show, go Pack, go, and remember, the Bears still suck. Peace.